Q&A, what we'll do with the Q&A is both the guys will be hanging around until the end of the presentation to have a chat with you. So save your burning questions for then. And I'll be able to share Christine's details with you for more information on that. Without further ado, hand over to you, Martyn.
Thanks, Gabrielle. Right, so we got 3 of us presenting, and those microphones are going to work, I'm sure. So we'll find out how this goes. And I'm testing my eyesight with the small screen that's all the way over there. But so we're going to give you a slightly different perspective and probably bring things down a little bit from the advanced technology that the capstone students have been discussing that's probably far beyond my knowledge and capability as we stand today, to what it's like for a smaller, family-owned, small to medium-sized business in regional New South Wales that really focuses on mechanical problems and mechanical solutions to not only bring interns into the company, develop a pipeline of mechanical engineers, but further enhance Australia's domestic sovereign industry capability, which is a big, big thing for us as a company, for Australia as a country. You can tell by my accent, I'm not from Australia, but the UK faces exactly the same challenge. And in the UK, about 70% of graduate engineers are employed by small to medium enterprises, but they're often overlooked in that process of going to look for a job. So we're here today to talk about small to medium enterprises where a lot of people will end up working and what that looks like and what they can offer people. So I'm Martyn. I've got a few letters that I've managed to collect over the years. I'm fairly long in the tooth compared to my colleagues that are alongside me. Paige and Chris joined us for a 6-month internship, and they'll give you guys a bit of an insight into what it was like. So, what do we do? Behind me on the banner on the screen, one of our flagship products is a rough terrain vehicle called the RTV. It's the first version is in service with the Australian Defence Force. The second version that you're looking at on the screen on the left-hand side is about to enter service. And that's been about 10 years in development for us as a small company, hoping to go international with it. Grappling hooks as well. That's basically something that was developed rapidly by us as a company to provide a solution, quite a novel solution actually. The existing product that was on the market had a failure mode that meant it was a catastrophic rapid failure. If you imagine if you're ascending up the side of a ship to go and do your job and the grappling hook suddenly snaps, that's a pretty bad day. So we developed one that had a gradual failure mode, so you can feel it creep. As a result, you have time to react. You can change your plans. So that was done in-house. In the center bottom is weapons storage and security for the Navy. So whilst the military and the Navy in particular have a lot of munitions on board and weapons on board, they want to keep them safe and out of the hands of people that are not supposed to have them, so we provide all of the lockers and stowage. Bottom right is a product, I guess, part of our product that Chris will talk about because he's responsible for it. We had a metal trunk on the car, and we wanted something that was lighter, quicker, easier to use, so Chris will tell you about that in a moment. So we're going to run through a little bit of what we were thinking, how we got the applicants, what interview process we used, how we onboarded people, what we did to help the interns, what we're continuing to learn, and the mistakes we're continuing to make as we bring on more and more interns over the years, what the experience is like, and then would we do it again? Sounded like a great idea. Recruitment in the regional areas is difficult. Let's get an intern. Instantly, from a large number of people in the business is all the reasons why you shouldn't do it, right? I won't read through them, you can read them yourself, but everyone puts barriers up. However, I've had interns with me in the company before. So I said, I'm not prepared to listen to all that nonsense, frankly. Let's look at the good stuff. New ideas from new talent, energy. Odd formatting on your presentation slide that wasn't there when we sent it in. Details. We get real value from interns if you treat them not just as interns, and it does take people about 4 to 6 weeks to stop calling Chris and Paige interns and start referring to them as Chris and Paige, right? It's the same with the guys we got in now, Jared, Justin and David. For the first 6 weeks, they were the interns. But after about 6 weeks, they start becoming individuals, and we talk about them as individuals, and they fit as part of the team, and that's really important. And they get to partner with existing team members. So existing team members get to learn new skills and get to develop and get to learn mentoring and coaching as a skill set that they wouldn't normally get otherwise. So it's a nice way of developing our engineers for more management roles and for the future. Plus, we get to build this pipeline we've all spoken about. I won't repeat what Anne said. Gabrielle and Michael, other than they're right. It's important. I'm sure Melvin's going to say exactly the same thing in a few moments' time. So, there was a debate. There was a debate because a lot of internships are unpaid. Not many were paid. We had that debate. It wasn't a very long debate because, quite simply, you get what you pay for. And how can you expect somebody to be motivated if they're not getting anything other than experience in return? So we weren't paid. Then duration. We had some people in for a couple of weeks, some people in for a couple of months over the years, and that, I think, drove all those negative thoughts and statements that were existent within the company when I joined. So the reality of the situation for us is that we believe over 6 months, and I'm sure Paige and Chris will attest to this, you see the intern change. The first period they learn the language of the company. There's more acronyms in the defence sector than there is in any other sector I've ever seen in my life. And it takes guys a little bit of time to settle in. Then they start to learn who they are and what they can contribute. Then they start to make a positive contribution. And if you're at 3 months, that's when they leave. If you're at 6 months, they actually get to progress further. So we went 6 months, we went UTS because of the responsiveness of UTS, and really importantly for us, Loretta. She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and really helped us not only understand the process, but how to write the adverts, how to engage with the university, and the challenges that we might face. So if there's any companies seriously thinking about them taking interns on, just talk to Loretta. And I apologise to Loretta for increasing her workload, but it's her fault for being very good at what she does. So we had to take some time to think about what we wanted. There's a few people we didn't want because they just wouldn't be the right fit for our business. Right? So we wanted the group in the middle. That's what we wanted. We didn't want the genius that was just going to suck the lifeblood out of the team. We'd love a rainbow-coloured unicorn, but chances of getting one quite slim, frankly. So we knew what we wanted, and we tried to target our advert and our requirement to what we believed was going to be available, on the basis that if you get good people with the right attitude and the right mindset, they'll grow with you. So advice is, structure your advert correctly. You're not going for a specialist with 20 years experience in the sector. You're going for somebody that's got very limited experience, but hopefully exactly the right attitude and the right level of energy. So interview process for us. This was probably one of the longest debates we had. We didn't do a very simple structured interview process. We got a load of CVs, we read them. They're all very educated, they've all done the Warman project, we get it, right? So what we actually looked for was something else, that thing that stood people out from others. Paige is going to prove me wrong as being the only exception because we did interview Paige remotely, but everybody else we did as a group interview, and we gave them scenario-based discussion activities to see how they debated as a team, how they listened to each other, and we blended into the background intentionally to see how these guys reacted. Then we set a practical activity, again, to see how they put that discussion and thought into practice, and finished up with some individual interviews that worked for us. And I don't know if you guys got an opinion, you went through it, so if you'd like to share your views.
Yeah, just following on from what Martyn said about the interview process, I found the group interview structure was very good at gauging who out of the applicants was able to work effectively in a team to, produce a product in accordance with what we were being assessed against, if that makes sense. So in the interview process that we were given, we had a practical component of it, which was to design a marble run using just pieces of paper and straws, just general stuff from Officeworks. But it was actually pretty difficult to design one which was artistic and functional at the same time. And as we were doing it, the criteria that we were being marked against changed halfway through to assess how well we would handle being under pressure. And being on the receiving end of that interview process, I found that was a very good way to sort of gauge how individuals would react given similar situations.
Thanks, Chris. So once we selected our candidates and they kindly and graciously accepted our offer, we went about onboarding. So again, regional New South Wales. I mean, Port Macquarie is a lovely place. It's by the beach. Lots of people go there on holiday. But it's a long way to drive if you live in Sydney. So we took a bit of time to try and sell the place to the guys. We're a small company. We have an open door policy, and I will apologise to Kyle, who emailed me as a potential intern about 4 days ago, and I haven't responded to him. But we do try and be responsive, and we make sure the interns have contact from the owner of the company through myself, through HR, so that you guys can ring us up any time they want, day or night, and we'll respond. Trust and respect. We expect them to trust us and respect us. Therefore, we expect to give it in return. And we do like to treat our interns as if they are any other employee. So I know it's a small thing, but there was genuinely a debate from some people as should we buy them uniform if they're only here for a few months? And the answer is, of course you should. You should treat them exactly the same as everybody else. The thing that worked really for us, that I think worked really well, is allowing freedom to run. We're a project-based organisation, so each 6 months the type of work changes dramatically. But we need to allow enough freedom for each individual that joins the business to find the thing that floats their boat the most, that allows them to be most productive. And that requires a less rigid approach from our team. So we actually don't set a project or a specific task before we get to know the guys that join us. They do some small stuff initially, but then we try and bias the work they're doing, assuming it's available, to the skill set that they have. That's really important. We must make it easy. And Paige, I know you've got your own thoughts on that.
Yeah, as Martyn said, I did my interview remotely, but I was still given like a brief on the company and the area we were going to live in. I think the deciding factor for me was really the fact that the company already had a property and we could just go right there when we got there, because I was super worried about having to relocate, find a place, being in a new job, like it was a big decision. So the fact that the company already had the accommodation ready was perfect. And obviously, I was able to communicate well with HR and organise a smooth relocation.
Thanks, Paige. So I'll just go back. Before we get to that, I don't know if you, as a potential employer, we rented a house, and we don't ask for a bond from our interns. Where they have a room available in the house, and they just pay a small contribution to the room, which, as Paige said, it simplifies the whole process, because not many people can rent a room 4 hours away from where they currently live on a 6-month short-term lease. It just doesn't really work. So that's as a business, I think that was a great decision, and I thank the boss for that. So Chris, you did that bit.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us about that bit?
All right, so what Martyn has up here is basically the tailgate of one of the big projects that we're working on, as seen on the banner over here. A tailgate is a panel on a vehicle used to keep the rear tray sort of enclosed. You see them a lot on work utes. Now, one of the issues which we had before was it was made of, I believe, alloy and steel.
Yep.
And the issue with that was it was quite a high weight product, and it didn't really need to be high weight. It didn't need to be reinforced far too much, correct?
Correct.
It just needed to be able to hold loose items in the tray without falling out. So the solution that we had, so the problems that we had to solve were weight, cost, and are there any that I'm missing here?
The functionality, it needed to be easy for the operator to use with the gloved hands in the cold and covered in mud and water.
Of course, and also storage would be another contributing factor. Obviously, if you have a large metal plate basically on the back of there, it's going to be hard to store. It's going to be expensive relatively. It's going to be heavy. So we had to come up with an alternative to that. This final product that you see here, that took a good month or so to develop, probably, going through multiple prototypes, and yeah, following a full design testing process.
Yep. I think it's in service, it's going on the vehicle, it's been accepted, completed a reliability test. And the nice thing about this design and the work that Chris did, he put quite a lot of work in, nobody talks about it. Customer didn't notice, it causes no problems. It's one of those perfect designs that functions perfectly, sits there and causes no issues. So the fact that nobody talks about it means it's a screaming success, so it's great. Paige, on the other hand, has a slightly different experience.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to be put on the acceptance, verification and validation team, so I got to drive that for 3 weeks, which was pretty cool. Yeah, so I got to meet the client as well, so we were staying out on a private property about an hour and 20 minutes from port. So we had all our meals with our client, and that was a great opportunity for me to connect with them and work on my networking skills, get some social skills there. But also I learned a lot about what goes into the process of a reliability test and what the client's looking for, what we need to put into that process. So it was a great and valuable experience to learn how that process works.
Excellent. And we got to meet Zelda the cow, which was a highlight.
Oh yeah, that was fantastic.
So, ultimately for us, we bring people in, they leave us more experienced, more rounded individuals with a new skill set. That's the aim. Sometimes we're more successful than others. But from us, I say the commitment we got from the UTS interns was outstanding, really was outstanding, and exceeded expectations. So did the group as from a performance perspective. The small group definitely for us works better than individuals, so we seem to stick with 3. We take 3 at a time. That gives them colleagues that are in the same situation, the same boat, and new to a town, new to a company. That seems to work, so I definitely recommend that. And I'd like to think that our interns and colleagues leave us feeling they've made a real valid and valuable contribution. I mean, hopefully the fact that the guys are here today supporting me reinforces that. Would we do it again? Absolutely, without a heartbeat. Adverts up now. We're recruiting 3 interns to start at the beginning of July, so please apply or recommend to people if you see fit. We've had 18 interns over 2.5 years offered, and we've got 2 permanent employees, although technically 1 did leave last week. And we've got 1 guy with us, Rue, who is still studying but working for us part-time remotely, which is another new concept, I guess, for a mechanical engineering factory, is to have somebody work remotely. But it works well, even when he was on holiday in Scotland over Christmas. So we do it again. Whether these guys do it again, that's up to them.
Personally, I'd say it was a great experience, all in all. Got to have some really good hands-on experience once again. Designing products for the car, doing the support for the car regarding like documentation and all that. I would say it really put a good expectation on what life will be like as a graduate intern and further on. So yeah, I definitely recommend this internship or an internship similar.
Yeah, so would I. I'd definitely do it again. I think the 6 months was a perfect amount of time. It really allowed us to do a bunch of different projects or do a bigger project and see it come to fruition. For example, like documentation, and seeing it actually go out to the client was really rewarding. This internship in particular as well, I think with the relocation, it allowed us to do work experience, but also gave us life experience. Obviously, you have to manage your money and work-life balance. So that was an additional bonus, I guess.
Thanks, guys. I'll pay you later. So that's all from me. Look, we'll be available for Q&A either on the panel or at lunch, and feel free to catch us anytime you want.